Test one, two, test. Trying to fix the audio on the Confessions podcast. Number one podcast in the world. Confessions. Subscribe if you haven't already.
Bro, technical difficulties already. Yeah. I don't know what that was. Sorry to every single one of y'all that had to deal with that. Golly. Yeah, sorry.
There it
I
is.
have no idea what was going on. I appreciate every single one of y'all for tuning in and putting up with us.
Is that on YouTube or Twitch or?
Yeah, it's on YouTube, so I'm not sure exactly what happened, but you know. All right.
Okay, there you go. It's about time we upgrade our setup, but we're on our way. We're on our way.
Hey, you know what?
It's in the works.
We've been having this setup since we started.
It's about time. Honestly, at this point, I'm not even surprised the technical difficulties happen as much as they do because I'm a man. This equipment has been at it for a few years already.
I know this is loved equipment that we've been using, but man, that means I didn't even hear exactly what I read when I first started. Should I read it again?
Yeah, well, let's go for it. Yeah.
All right. Why are the nations in an uproar, and the peoples devising a vain thing? The kings of the earth take their stand, and the rulers take counsel together against the Lord and against his anointed, saying, let us tear their fetters apart and cast away their cords from us. He who sits in heaven laughs, the Lord scoffs at them. Then he will speak to them in his anger, and terrifying them in his fury, saying, but as for me, I have installed my king upon Zion, my holy mountain. I will surely tell of the decree of the Lord. He said to me, you are my son. Today I have begotten you. Ask of me, and I will surely give you the nations as your inheritance, and the very ends of the earth as your possession. You shall break them with a rod of iron. You shall shatter them like earthware. Now therefore, O kings, show discernment. Take warning, O judges of the earth. Worship the Lord with reverence, and rejoice with trembling. Do homage to the Son, that he not become angry, and you perish in the way, for his wrath may be soon kindled. How blessed are all who take refuge in him. Psalm 2. What's up, Reggie?
Just in time. Just in time.
Yeah, no, just in time. Had some technical difficulties to start,
Really?
but got it fixed, even though I don't know what was wrong. But, yeah. What were you saying about? Because you started off with like saying your thoughts before I
Oh yeah,
noticed.
yeah. Because it kind of reminds me of what's going on with the World Cup. How you have all these nations coming together, and then you have all these people. You know, it turns out that a lot of our problems wouldn't exist if it wasn't for our leaders. That we would actually coexist and be comfortable with other people, with other cultures, and across the world. I've seen people that have, apologized to America, saying, "Hey, America's not as bad as social media portrays it to be, where all these other nations aren't as rude as social media portrays them to be." But it's our leaders that are putting these things into our head and telling us hate each other, and we're listening like sheep. But then he's just saying right now, like, no, don't even worry about that. Just worry about me. Focus on me.
No, that's, and I think it's very very powerful whenever it says that this is the decree of the Lord, saying that you are my son. Today I have begotten you. Ask of me, and I will surely give you the nations as your inheritance, and the very ends of the earth as your possession. You shall break them with a rod of iron. You shall shatter them like earthware. That's what he says that he has decreed for us as sons of the Most High, and I think that I mean, it's just pretty much a lot letting us know that as his followers that it's not just the bare minimum that we get to receive. Like our inheritance is the kingdom. You know what I mean? Like it's
It's gonna
nations.
be all right. Like, just focus on him,
Yeah.
because we're his sons and gotta do as well.
Yeah. Everything will follow suit. But welcome back to the number one podcast in the world, Confessions. Today is Friday, and yet another episode, the 65th edition of the number one podcast in the world. Subscribe if you haven't already. And today, uh, man, it's been a long week this week, I think for all of us. And just starting off, I want to say that this week has tested my patience. It's tested my it's tested my faith. And I think there's no there's no tougher time to demonstrate your faith in God than whenever things are not going according to plan, and whenever there's health issues that are going on in the family, and that's pretty much what I experienced this past week. And but the good thing, the the, the thing that I can come out saying is that everything's okay. And at the end of the day, that's all I could ask for. And I guess this week I was trying to prepare myself for the worst case scenario. I was trying to prepare myself to say goodbye if necessary. And, you know, but even in the midst of all that, reminding myself that God is good. Despite all the negative, God is still there for me. He's carried me through all the good times and the bad times, and that wouldn't change. And so it just reminded me to be grateful, show gratitude for all the moments, all the memories that I've been able to make. And if I have the opportunity to continue to make more memories, continue to share more moments with the people that I love, then just be grateful. And if it was the end, then I'd just be grateful that it happened.
That's one thing that I've always emphasized from the beginning, that I wouldn't want to. I know in the beginning, there was times where I'd feel guilty if I had to miss a podcast or miss a video and stuff like that, because I was gonna go out of town with my family or just go to a cookout. And at that moment, it's like, man, why are we having fun when we got work to do? My reasoning was kind of the same reason as that, is that, you know, if I'm serious about this and this is gonna be one of the things that I do for my life, it's inevitable that I'm gonna miss days. It's inevitable I'm gonna get sick. It's inevitable that it's just gonna be two of us at a time. But at the end of the day, it's like, okay, it happens. You got things to do. Just pick back up like normal next week. Nothing happened. It's not like you're giving it up completely. And then especially now, so we've built that foundation strong enough. We've got that, the procedure where it's like, hey, if one of us is running late, start. It's no big deal. Whereas at first it was a little bit more uncomfortable because like, oh man, they're starting without me. Maybe they don't even need me. But it's like, oh no, things happen. I'm running late. It's an unexpected week. Start the podcast without me. I'll be back next week. Or I gotta go. It's not important. But I'm just gonna go with my family. They invited me to go eat. It's I'll be back next week. I think we've gotten to the point where that stuff's okay because we've got a strong foundation, and we're on a roll, and people see it, and we're growing. And it's not like, oh, if I miss one now, people are gonna be like, oh, where's Jerome? There's be like, oh, something happened, and I'm sure y'all explain it all the time from what I've seen. And I'm sure, yeah, you and Roll got a perfect streak right now, so y'all are in a competition for number one. But I hope it goes on forever. But one day, something might come over. Oh, I got something to do. It might just be me and Raju. It might just be me and you, and that's gonna be not a normal thing, but that's gonna be a thing like, oh yeah, we've been that. It happens. It's just gotta be like, man, you gotta as as bad as it feels, or as guilty as you feel for choosing to do something that's not gonna make you necessarily better. It's a pill to swallow. It's like, because at the end of the day, you know, uh, last week I was very busy and I had all these birthdays, and my dad was calling all sad, and he had told my brother a comment, and we're like, why are you making that comment? And he made the comments like, I love ya, just in case this is my last birthday. And we're like, why are you saying that? But I guess we're getting to that point where it's like, it's a sad reality we have to accept. Could be the last birthday, could be the last Thanksgiving, could be the, not even if you're older, even when you're younger, forever young, like some people unfortunately have to go through. But that's one of the big things that I've grown a lot. And I'm like, you know what? No one can tell me nothing now. If I'm gonna choose this, I'm gonna do it because I'm still responsible. I'm still taking care of my stuff, still doing what I gotta do. If I let it have a little fun, it's okay because I'm reaching a burnout, and school hasn't even started. I'm like, damn. And I talked to my mom about it, and I vent to her, and she's like, "Welcome to the real world. Welcome to adult life." And I'm like, "This can't be what adult life is. There's got to be more to it, right?" But it's just part of the journey. and and it's just those little things like, man, it sucks to think about, but just thinking about like, man, this could be the last time I get to go out to eat with my mom or dad. Let me do it. You know, what if I get in trouble, if I get fired, whatever, I'll be all right. But my family is only here for a little bit until, of course, I rejoice with them up in heaven. That's the goal for all of us.
I think that's a great perspective. I think I'm on the fence about it if I'm being honest.
It's a slippery slope for sure. Yeah.
I agree 100% just because tomorrow's never promised. I agree 100%. But yeah, if I'm being completely honest, I'm on the fence about it just because I've put that chip on my shoulder. I've taken up that cross. I've taken up that responsibility to want to take care of my people, to want to change the way we live, the way we are in our lifestyle. And I say this not com- to be completely positive towards this, but luckily for me, like my family's not as together, like compared to y'all's at least. But I don't regret it, but that gives me the opportunity to take that cross up upon my shoulders, to be able to change that, to be the change. And I just believe I need to build the man, and I don't know, I just got to build first. That's how I see that. And I completely agree, though, that tomorrow's never guaranteed, that you should cherish those moments that you do get with your people. You should take the opportunities that do arise to spend time with those people. I guess those opportunities just don't happen as often for me, you know?
Right, and I was gonna say your situation a little bit different
Yeah.
because you
But that's my whole point. Like, my premise behind everything is family. Like,
yeah,
I want that, you
and
know?
then in your case you're like, man, I didn't get to really experience it, but that's what I'm working for now,
Exactly.
and that's what tunnel vision.
Yeah.
So then everything else becomes blocked out. You're like, all right, I
Yeah.
don't care. I'm just gonna work. It is what it
It's
is.
yeah, so it's kind of a weird like dynamic, I guess. Like, I say that I'm on the fence, but it's as if like, no, I want
No,
that.
I want
That's
that.
yeah, that is
Yeah.
what I want. So
And I think for for me in particular, and I'm pretty sure Jeremy could say it as well, but it's like to preserve what we have and build on it. Like, I want to be able to give my children the experiences of family and love that I grew up with in my household, that I grew accustomed to. And it kind of breaks my heart with my little cousin, Oscar, who I talked about before, but it's really just him. Like, he doesn't have any cousins that are his age. And because he lives with my parents, he struggles to like spend time with his friends because his friends' parents are so young in comparison to my parents. And of course my parents are like, "Well, I want to meet your parents and I want to be able to like, connect with them." But my parents are, they're already older, and
A little bit more old
yeah,
school.
and his
Mm.
friends' parents, they're, in their 20s or late 20s or maybe early 30s. So it's like there's a huge disconnect there. So he doesn't really have anyone. And me, when I was growing up, I had all my cousins, and I would spend summer vacations. I even had y'all too as well, you know. And my parents, my parents knew your parents. Our parents grew up together, so that's how like they were able to allow me to go with y'all because they knew the parents. And for him, it's very different because he's not able to experience that same thing. And so, you know, I it kind of it makes me feel bad. It breaks my heart, and that's why I try to give him more of those experiences whenever I'm with him. But at least whenever I have children, I want to be able to give that to them, where they have a they have a big family that they can go spend the night with their cousin, or then go hang out with Theo or Thea, and go do the things that I got to do and more. you know. So
And it's kind of a difficult spot for him too, because I've experienced it where he's at an age where he's kind of too old to hang out with the little ones and not relate to them, but too young to not be able to hang out with the older cousins and the tios and the unks, and so he's kind of like, man, where do I go? And if you don't have cousins your age, or especially, and I can't blame your parents either, because it's hard to trust people nowadays. You never know what's going on at someone else's house. So I completely see where they're coming from on that, on wanting to meet them. So it's very difficult for him, but it's good that he has a role model like you, because you're gonna provide him all those experience. And you're young, you can relate to him, show him everything that we might have missed out on, or that introducing him to baseball, Call of Duty, zombies, stuff like that.
yeah, exactly. And I think it's cool because we actually are about to officially adopt him. So he's actually gonna be little bro for real. And so,
Congratulations.
but
Yeah, you're gonna
yeah,
have a little bro.
yeah,
Like, I mean, he's always been a little bro, but
but now like officially
now
he's
officially.
gonna be a little bro. And so, but that's how it's felt for a long time now.
Yeah.
And I've just tried to do my best to be a big brother to him, and just try to show him the right way. Show him that despite everything that he's gone through, there's a path that you can take, and you can become whatever you want, be whoever you want. And he's he's a good kid. He's a little goofy, but he's a good kid. Um, and it inspires me to keep moving forward. Like kind of how we mentioned, the family is the reason why we're pushing forward and working so hard and staying consistent. It's all because of either the family that we want or wanting to keep the family that we have. It's not about us.
No, not at all.
Mm.
Like, for me, it's just my immediate family: my mom, dad, brother, sister, brother-in-law, niece, nephew. But growing up, I was a lot closer to the family as a whole. Like my grandma's side, it was a big family. But I guess as everybody grew up and grew apart, and all my cousins having kids and stuff like that, it's like, man, what? Well, now what? And then as you grow up too, you're just like, you know, I've had adults talk to me now. Even my dad mentioned to me a long time ago. He was like, I don't know if I've said this yet, but I'm gonna just say it for the point. When we first started the podcast, he was kind of like, one of the skeptical ones. He's like, "Y'all are young. What have y'all been through? No older guy's gonna listen to y'all. What are you guys talking about? You haven't been through anything." A few weeks ago, though, like 2 or 3 weeks ago, he's like, "You know what? I remember." He's like, "Do you remember I told you that?" I'm like, "Honestly, I was forgetting about it." But he's like, "No, I told you that because he was being accountable." He's like, "But I'm sorry." He's like, "Cause I watch y'all's podcast and I actually learned stuff from y'all." And he's like a 50 plus year veteran, and older. He's been through a lot, been arrested. He's been through everything, and he's still learning from us. When at first he said, "Oh, no one's gonna listen to y'all." So for him to change his mind, and from the my other friends that I made at SPC who are a little bit older, in their 30s, they say that they learned from us, and I'm like, man, we're doing great. So now, that family dynamic with the family is overall, you 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 can see the BS now. We're growing up, you just gotta take it for what it is. You can't call anybody out. But now it's like, man, I'm grown now. If I don't like that, I'm gonna tell you. If you disrespect me, I'm gonna tell you. And family might not take that well. It's like, well, I'm your family. Why are you doing me like that? I'm not little no more. I've experienced that quite a bit, so that's why I kind of drifted off as the family as a whole. But then just my immediate family is the family that I'm trying to preserve, like you mentioned. So
Yeah, and I think that's the that's the unique part about it is like you have your family, can't change it no matter what, and you want to be able to maintain those relationships as best as possible. But at some point, you have to have the ability to, you know, find a way to connect, even if you can't relate in a lot of ways. Like my life path is very different than some of my other family members' life path, and I guarantee you, there's people in my family who don't necessarily agree with my beliefs, and that's okay. You know what I mean? We're still family at the end of the day, and I still love them. And but I don't let that get in between us. Like I don't want that connection to be severed because I'm choosing this life path and they're choosing this life path. But at the same time, there's been times where it has like now it's a little bit harder to relate, a little bit harder to connect because we just live different lives, and
yeah,
that's okay. That's
and when you
completely
get older, it's like,
yeah.
man, you develop your own more opinions, your beliefs. It's like, man, as a kid, all you had to do was both like dinosaurs or Xbox. Now it's like, man, we gotta like this, and this, or it's gonna be kind of shaky. I mean, I still love you, your family, but you know. I don't know when you'll snap, and I hope I won't snap either. But
But I think that's whenever love has to really step up. Like you have to have a really strong bond and foundation of love. Because whenever you have love, then nothing can break that. Nothing can conquer whenever you truly love them. Because even if we disagree, we could still, hey, you know what? I love you. At the end of the day, I just want you to, be okay, and we'll find something. There's always something that you can relate to someone with, and so it's finding those things and finding those common grounds and just allowing to live there instead of living in that conflict, living in that place where we just can't come to an agreement. There's no point to bring it up. You know what I mean? Like I think one thing that I've had to learn is just to keep my mouth shut. Like I don't have to be right. Like people want to talk and say whatever they want, and as long as it's not disrespecting me, then there's no reason for me to correct. There's no reason for me to interject. Like say your spiel, go ahead. I'm here. I'm just chilling. I mean, just don't direct it at me, and we're
yeah,
good.
I mean, you're
You
gonna
could
say
have
it.
your own thing. Go ahead.
Yeah,
So that's kind of what I've had to learn is just it's okay to let people talk. Let them talk, and I can just keep my mouth shut. And yeah, I would even be like, oh yeah, man, yeah. Even if I completely disagree, it's fine. There's no reason. I don't have to be right. I don't have
especially
to.
if that person's not gonna be someone that's gonna be on your train in the future. If you're
Mm,
just passing by, it's not even worth it.
yeah, but yeah,
But
family. Regardless, I'm still grateful for my family. I love my family more than anything. I wouldn't trade it for the world, and that they're the ones who I'm doing it for at the end of the day. And I couldn't be great. I couldn't be more grateful. And that's one thing that this week has also taught me is just to cherish every moment that I get to spend with them, because you never know whenever it can be gone, just like how y'all were saying. And so yeah, but just grateful to God and excited for the future, and just how Raul was saying this last pod, just war ready. Said war ready. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the pod. I think it's my turn to pray. Before that, before we get into Genesis, so go ahead and pray real quick. Dear God, thank you for all the ups and downs. Thank you for all the memories and the moments that I've been able to share with my family and my loved ones. And thank you for protecting my family and uniting us even whenever things get scary. And thank you for just being the rock that I can build my house upon. And no matter what comes against it, I can be at peace knowing that my foundation is solid and it won't fall. Just thank you, God. Thank you for everything. I couldn't be more grateful. And I just pray that you continue to remind me of how good I got it. Just I pray that I continue to seek you. I continue to align my will with yours, and I just pray protection. Pray protection over my family. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
mm,
All right. We are in Genesis 26:18 because we didn't read all the way through. We didn't read all the way through Genesis 26. Um, this right before we started, just for reference for you, Isaac and Rebecca had two sons, Jacob and Esau. Esau was like a red haired beast of a man, and Jacob was the younger. And God had given a prophecy to Isaac saying that there will be two nations, which will be the Esau and Jacob, and one will rule over the other, and the older will serve the younger. And so that's what God had prophesied. And Isaac or Jacob took advantage of Esau's. I could say Esau despised his birthright, and we talked about this the last one. But the birthright included, for example, whenever the father passes away, who takes leadership over the family, who gets the inheritance. Like if you have three sons, the oldest son will be the one that inherits 2/3, and then the other ones will have to split the other third between them. And then pretty much just leadership owner of the family, being the one that's taking care and providing of the family, being the head of the table essentially. And so that was something that was promised to the oldest of the family, which would be Esau. But Jacob pretty much I don't know, Esau was being like, I don't know if he was being dramatic, but he was like, I'm famished, I'm about to die. And Isaac said, well, I'll cook some food, sell me your birthright and I'll give you this food. And Esau just traded it away. So he gave Jacob his birthright for some food. And then yeah, that and then after that Isaac, remember Isaac is Abraham's son. Isaac went to Abimelech, and whenever he went to his kingdom, he said that Rebecca, his wife, was a sister, so that they didn't kill him and say that that was like take his wife from him. But Abimelech saw the two, secretly like coddling each other and said, "You liar! You said that this was your sister, but this is your wife, and why would you lie to us like this? You want God to, like, if we were to do anything and take your wife from you, then God would punish us." And so he said that any man that would put their hands on, every man was forbidden from putting their hands on Isaac or Rebekah, and he got rich. That's what it says. And that he got so powerful that the king, Abimelech, king of the Philistines, sent him away, said that he was too powerful to be in the Philistines' land. So he sent him away. But he did the same thing Abraham did.
He's following his dad's footsteps.
Yep. So that's what happened, and that's what we're picking up right now. So,
Okay, which one? Where was it again?
chapter 26, verse 18. All right. So, then Isaac dug again the wells of water which had been dug in the days of his father Abraham, for the Philistines had stopped them after the death of Abraham. And he gave them the same names which his father had given them. But when Isaac's servants dug in the valley and found there a well of flowing water, the herdsmen of Gerar quarreled with the herdsmen of Isaac, saying, "The water is ours." So he named the well Esek, because they contended with him. Then they dug another well, and they quarreled over it too. So he named it Sitnah. He moved away from there and dug another well, and they did not quarrel over it. So he had named it Rehoboth. For he had said, "At last the Lord has made room for us, and we will be fruitful in the land." Then he went up from there to Beersheba. The Lord appeared to him the same night and said, "I am the God of your father Abraham. Do not fear, for I am with you. I will bless you and multiply your descendants for the sake of my servant Abraham." So he built an altar there and called upon the name of the Lord and pitched his tent there. And there Isaac's servants dug a well. Then Abimelech came to him from Gerar with his advisor Ahuzath and Phicol, the commander of his army. Isaac said to them, "Why have you come to me, since you hate me and have sent me away from you?" They said, "We see plainly that the Lord has been with you." So we said, "Let there now be an oath between us, even between you and us, and let us make a covenant with you, that you will do us no harm, just as we have not touched you and have done to you nothing but good, and have sent you away in peace. You are now the blessed of the Lord." Then he made them a feast, and they ate and drank. In the morning they arose early and exchanged oaths. Then Isaac sent them away, and they departed from him in peace. Now it came about on the same day that Isaac's servants came in and told him about the well which they had dug, and said to him, "We have found water." So he called it Sibah. Therefore the name of the city is Beersheba to this day. When Esau was 40 years old, he married Judith, the daughter of Beeri the Hittite, and Basemath, the daughter of Elon the Hittite. And they brought grief to Isaac and Rebekah. I'll just read a little bit of 27. Now it came about when Isaac was old, and his eyes were too dim to see, that he called his older son Esau and said to him, My son. And he said to him, Here I am. Isaac said, Behold now, I am old, and I do not know the day of my death. Now then, please take your gear, your quiver, and your bow, and go out to the fields and hunt game for me, and prepare a savory dish for me, such as I love, and bring it to me that I may eat, so that my soul may bless you before I die. Rebekah was listening while Isaac spoke to his son Esau. So when Esau went to the field to hunt for game to bring home, Rebekah said to her son Jacob, Behold, I heard your father speak to your brother Esau, saying, Bring me some game and prepare a savory dish for me that I may eat, and bless you in the presence of the Lord before my death. Now therefore, my son, listen to me as I command you. Go now to the flock, and bring me 2 choice young goats from there, that I may prepare them as a savory dish for your father, such as he loves. Then you shall bring it to your father, that he may eat, so that he may bless you before his death. Jacob answered his mother, Rebekah, Behold, Esau, my brother is a hairy man, and I am a smooth man. Perhaps my father will feel me, then I will be as a deceiver in his sight, and I will bring upon myself a curse and not a blessing. But his mother said to him, Your curse be on me, my son. Only obey my voice, and go, get them for me. So he went out and got them, and brought them to his mother, and his mother made a savory food, such as his father loved. Then Rebekah took the best garments of Esau to her elder son, which were with her in the house, and put them on Jacob, her youngest son. Then she put on the skins of the young goats on his hands, and the smooth part of his neck. She also gave the savory food and the bread which she had made to her son Jacob. Then he came to his father and said, My father. And he said, Here I am. Who are you, my son? Jacob said to his father, I am Esau, your firstborn. I have done as you told me. Get up, please. Sit and eat of my game, that you may bless me. Isaac said to his son, How is it that you have it so quickly, my son? And he said, Because the Lord your God caused it to happen to me. Then Isaac said to Jacob, Please come close, that I may feel you, my son, whether you are really my son Esau or not. So Jacob came close to Isaac, his father, and he felt him and said, The voice is the voice of Jacob, but the hands are the hands of Esau. He did not recognize him, because his hands were hairy, like his brother Esau's hands. So he blessed him. And he said, Are you really my son Esau? And he said, I am. So he said, Bring it to me, and I will eat my son's game, that I may bless you. And he brought it to him, and he ate. He also brought him wine, and he drank. Then his father Isaac said to him, Please, son, come close and kiss me. So he came close and kissed him. And when he smelled the smell of his garments, he blessed him and said, See, the smell of my son is like the smell of a field which the Lord has blessed. Now may God give you the dew of heaven, and of the fatness of the earth, and an abundance of grain and new wine. Many people serve you, and nations bow down to you. Be master of your brothers, and may your mother's sons bow down to you. Cursed be those who curse you, and blessed be those who bless you.
Dang, it was getting crazy right before it ended. I can't even imagine. I would probably feel too guilty to be able to go through with it like that, deceiving my father right before he passes away. Like, I know it's not supposed to be for me, but I'm gonna lie to him anyways.
And I think who you're doing it to, you're doing it to your brother. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like you're just lying to your dad and it's only hurting him, but you're doing it, and your brother's the one that's gonna receive the back end of it. You know what I mean? He's gonna be the one that is harmed the most, because your father's gonna pass away. You know, no matter what. You know what I mean? You can't change that. But your brother, on the other hand, you know, theoretically he's still young and has the rest of his life ahead of him, and you're stealing his blessing away from him. And mind you, right before this, as I explained to you, he did this already. He made Esau sell his. Well, he didn't make him, but he knew how his brother was, And so Jacob essentially stole his birthright from his brother already. So this isn't a first time occurrence for him. This is the second time that he's, taking something from Esau that doesn't belong to Jacob. Like Jacob, it doesn't belong to him. But I think the weird thing too is that his mom's the one that kind of sold his brother out, because Isaac wasn't the one that hurt, or Jacob wasn't the one that hurt it. It was Rebecca, and Rebecca told him, because it even said in the previous readings that we had that Rebecca's favorite son was Jacob, and Isaac, his favorite son, was Esau. So Rebecca preferred Jacob in the first place, and so, but I don't know. It's just weird because the mom's the one that sold her son out.
I wonder why the family dynamic is like that. It's kind of ugly.
Just like these days, man. Just like these days.
That's why you can't trust a woman.
Never changes, bro.
Never follow a woman's lead.
Never changes.
Maybe that's why. Maybe because that's kind of how it started out. Like when you think about Abraham and Sarah, like he called her, his sister so many times, and then he got with the maid servant, got her pregnant, and it's just like, and then after that, remember he says that he got another concubine or something like that before he passed away, and so it just seems to be common that these are not like the strongest marriages known to man.
Right? Or maybe kind of thinking a little bit more about it. Maybe it's a reference towards generational curses. Oh, my father was an abuser and cheater, quote, so I'm an abuser and cheater. Or the alcoholic analogy with the two sons. One son's an alcoholic because his dad was. The other one's, doesn't drink because his dad was. Maybe it's like one of those things where it's following those family footsteps until someone's like, nah, you know what? I'm done. This isn't right. This is how it is. I'm tired of saying that my wife's my sister. No, this is my wife. I'm tired of doing incest. I'm not doing that no more, right? Just I'm not gonna steal from my brother or lie to my dad on his deathbed. It could be relating towards generational curses. One, it just takes that one son to say, or that one daughter, just like, I'm done, no more.
No, and I like that perspective, because I think that's one thing that my dad always said, that I was the one that was going to break the generational curses of drug and alcohol abuse and be the first one to, graduate high school, go to college, and live life, quote unquote, the right way. Do things the right way, and so I think that in and of itself, it comes with a lot of pressure, though. You don't want to mess up, you don't want to disappoint anybody, but I think there is some credence to that, because when you really boil it down to what he's doing, is he's lying. He's lying so that it can benefit him. Abraham did the same thing. Isaac did the exact same thing. So Jacob, he's just doing the same thing that his
Following the
father and his
footsteps,
grandfather
yeah.
did. And so lie to get his way to benefit himself. And as of right now, we haven't really seen it not go his way. And it's worked out for him. Poor Esau's just, the one that's just having to deal with it.
And all because, right, from my understanding, is he was sick, and for some food,
Oh,
he gave away his blessing.
yeah.
Just because he wanted to live healthily, he had to give up his blessing. That's
Yeah,
and
and it said that later on in the Bible in Hebrews, it references Esau as a person that gave away something that was so precious for very little, for almost nothing. But it also says that Jacob, he took it and he wasn't meant to. Like God had prophesied that the younger was going to rule over the other, right? And so Jacob, that was already given to him. Like he didn't have to take that route, but he chose to take it into his own hands, just how Abraham did, right? Remember, he was promised, "Hey, just go to the place that I will show you. I'll make your name great. I'll make your descendants as numerous as the stars and the sands in the oceans," right? But he took things into his own hands by lying about his wife being his sister, and then Isaac did the exact same thing, and now this is exact what Jacob's doing. He's taking his own way, even though it's promised to him already. So there's some credence to what you're saying about generational curses, because he's following in the same footsteps
And that's just me kind of digging and kind of referencing some context what we've read previously. It's like, why does this keep happening? Right? There has to be a reason. Is who maybe as we keep reading, there's going to be that one where it's like, no, that breaks the chains, that that's truthful, that's honorable, that's just not leaning on his own understanding, as we've seen humans tend to do a lot.
I also wonder if there's going to be any sort of repercussions from God because he took it into his own hands.
And see, that's the weird thing too. I was just about to ask y'all, like, why do you think God hasn't against Abraham, against Isaac, now Jacob? Because Abraham, he got rich, wealthy, famous, powerful. Isaac, same thing with him, rich, powerful, wealthy, and then now seemingly Jacob thinks that everything is going well for him. Why do you think that? Like it doesn't seem like there's been any repercussions.
I feel like if he know God knew it was going to happen, and I don't remember, but I believe they did still go through some adversity throughout their times. I don't know about Isaac. I don't really think it mentions, but I don't know. I feel like something's bound to pop off, especially between Jacob and his brother Esau. Esau. Um, that's just me guessing, but I mean, with Abraham, you saw some repercussions when um, he first lied initially to the king, and those people ended up getting sick. Isaac ended up getting basically kicked out from that kingdom. So, I mean, in a way, they are facing some sort of repercussions, but I guess it just depends how bad they are, right?
My spidey senses started tingling. I can feel the haters coming from the grave right now, because I can already picture them. There's a lot to manipulate here, a lot to use to your advantage, a lot to use negatively, right? One could say, well, why are all these people disobeying God and leaning on their own understanding, but they're getting all these treasures and riches? I beat them to the question, right? But it's like, well, if you want to learn, read. I don't know the answer to that, but like I said, hopefully as we keep going, we'll find a reason why, or maybe we could put something together. The only reason I can think of is in the beginning when it was just Abraham and God. They did their contract, if you will, about, hey, here's your covenant, but you do this for me. And I remember, to my understanding, that the covenant automatically saved Abraham and everybody else in his bloodline below him. So of course, all these people are part of his bloodline, is mischievous, and you know the bad deeds that they do and whatnot. What kind of God would that be if he goes back on his promise?
No, I think, and that's a great point that you made because it's very true. God's the only one that's being consistent here. When you really think about it, he did make his covenant with Abraham. And he told Abraham, go to a land that I will show you, and I will make your name great. I will bless those who bless you, I will curse those who curse you, and I will make you a numerous amount of nations. And despite Abraham's flaws, him being human, that's exactly what he did. He went out exactly and followed what God had commanded him to do. And he said, this will be shown by the covenant of circumcision. Circumcise everyone that's in your household and every servant that you own. And then your sons will be circumcised as well, and then so on and so forth. And that'll be a sign of everyone being under the covenant. But I think maybe that could be a sign of you as the father, as the leader, right? You have an opportunity to set up your family for the rest of your life by following God, by setting that precedent, like letting it be known, like, hey, in the Corral family and the Armijo family, we follow God. This is a household which is blessed by God. And so by that, just because of you, just like how it said here in verse 24, the Lord appeared to Isaac and said, I am the God of your father, Abraham. Imagine, I don't know, Jeremiah Jr. He comes up and says, I am the God of your father, Jeremiah. Do not fear, for I am with you. I will bless you and multiply your descendants for the sake of my servant, Jeremiah. Imagine that, right? So you're gone. Yeah, exactly. But it's because you made that decision to follow Christ. You know what I mean? So I think
Gone
in
already.
this way, that's how you can look at it is, well, at the end of the day, God had made his covenant with Abraham. It was a promise. And God does not turn back on his promises. He's not a man that he should lie. He's not a person that he should lie. So if someone were to come and say, well, how could they get away with this? How could they get away with that? Well, think of it as a big thank you to Grandpa for
Right.
you know
For his inheritance, for this land,
yeah,
for
for
this.
the inheritance.
Yeah.
So setting up for generations your family, you can do that just by being committed to following Christ and letting it be known that in my household we stand for God. And that in and of itself can cover generations, no matter how imperfect they are, because they're your seed, they're going to receive the blessings as well.
And that's the importance of reading and putting things together, because we just answered that question that I asked for. I'm pretty sure that I wouldn't even be surprised if it came up, because
No,
I mean, I ask these questions. Do I do it in a hateful way? No, I do it in a way because I'm trying to learn. Like, I'm questioning it.
But it is a good question, but it's good that we have that context, like we have that foreknowledge of what's led up to this, and I think this just shows God's commitment that He's not gonna go back on His word. If He made a promise, He's gonna keep it, and your choices do have an effect on the people that you're leading, and it's better for you to die on the rock that God's building for you than to try to take your own route. And yeah, I think we can look at this as a good example of what it means to be a follower of Christ, and know that you have to be the one that sets up your family, not just financially, not just in like their careers or whatever you build your empire, but like letting it be known that who's the God you serve, who got you there. And as long as they know that, then they'll be protected. So yeah, I think that's a good lesson to take from it. But, y'all ready to move to the next one?
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
All right. See, so we're in Mark chapter. Oh shoot! I think we're in chapter 7. Mark chapter 7. Yeah. So right before this, Jeremy, what had happened? Jesus had casted out a demon or a legion of demons from one person, sent them into a herd of swines, but they recognized him as the Son of Man, and they asked him permission to be sent into swines, and Jesus allowed them to go into it. And then after that, he went to his hometown, and he couldn't perform any miracles there, aside from a couple, because they just said, well, isn't he just the carpenter's son? Or isn't he just a carpenter? Aren't his mom and brothers Mary and all these whatever, like basically discrediting him, and Jesus said himself, like, a prophet is not without honor except within his own hometown. Pretty much saying that you can go anywhere else and people will show love, respect, and reverence for you, but whenever you go to your hometown where everyone knows you as, oh, you're just little old Jeremy, little old Raul,
Dreaming too big.
they won't respect you as much, because they look at you as how you were in the past, not who you are now. And so after that, there was a synagogue priest or leader that had a daughter that was sick, or not sick, but she had died, and Jesus went to go to their house, and he said that she wasn't dead, she was just asleep, and they started laughing at him. They started laughing at Jesus, and he sent all of them out aside from the mother and father, and he told the girl to wake up, essentially, like, get up and walk, and the girl immediately got up and walked, and it's just a crazy miracle, right? That everyone had witnessed, despite them literally laughing in his face. And then after that, he fed 5,000 people, which we read in the book of Matthew, with just 5 fish and 2 loaves of bread or something like that.
Yeah.
And then after that, Jesus said goodbye to everyone, and he sent the disciples out on the boat to go to the other side of the lake, and he went to say bye to everyone, and then afterwards he went to go pray. And then as he was praying, he noticed that the disciples were like struggling because there was like a storm that was going on in the middle of the sea, so they were struggling to row the oars. And so he decided to go on a leisurely walk on the water. And the disciples saw him, and it said something very interesting that me and Roel had talked about, was that their hearts were hardened by the feeding of the 5,000, and they were astonished and fearful when they saw Jesus walking on the water. And whenever he was walking on the water and they saw him, he said, "Do not be afraid, for it is I." And he stepped into the boat, and as soon as he stepped into the boat, the storm subsided. And they were like scared. They were like, who is this man that even the storm obeys him, right? And so, but it mentioned that their hearts were hardened. And the reason why we thought that that was interesting is because we're always like, does that mean that they were like solidified in their belief? But I brought it up that the only time that I ever heard hardened was in the book of Exodus, whenever Moses was trying to set the Israelites free from Pharaoh of Egypt. And the Pharaoh, God had hardened his heart. And by that, he meant that he didn't allow him to feel any emotion to let them go. And instead, he stood stubborn and didn't allow the Israelites to be set free. And because of that, God sent plagues upon the people of Egypt, right? He sent famines. He sent what's it called? A wave of locusts. And then eventually it led to what we called the Passover, which was whenever the angel of death came down, and every single doorpost that had the lamb's blood spread on top of it, the angel of death passed over. But for every household that didn't have it, the firstborn would die. And that's eventually that would be the final tipping point for the Pharaoh, and he let the Egyptian people go. And so it said here that the disciples had their hearts hardened. And so we thought, well, why would that be? Why would God harden the hearts of the disciples? And what we kind of came to the conclusion of, God was able to perform the miracle of the Passover because the Pharaoh's heart was hardened. Imagine if the Pharaoh gave in right away. He wouldn't have been able to do the Passover. And what would the Passover eventually become? The sacrifice of Jesus. Jesus would become the lamb. He would be the one that's blood would be smeared over the wood. And because of him, we wouldn't have to succumb to death. So whenever you think about the hardness of the disciples, imagine if the disciples believed immediately that Jesus was the true Messiah from the moment that they saw him perform his first miracle and never quarreled with it. How hard would it be for us to relate to them? Imagine they were perfect from then on out. They never doubted Jesus. They never had human moments. They never questioned him. They never once batted an eye at it. How hard would it be to be able to relate to the disciples? But it's because of how human that they are, we can relate to them and we can see ourselves within them. So in a way, it's like God hardened their hearts so that they could be relatable to us, so that we could see ourselves in them, and so that Jesus would be able to perform these miracles and make it undoubtedly so that he is the Messiah. Because imagine, too, if they wanted to believe. Like, well, we want to believe Jesus is the Messiah, so we're going to make him be the Messiah. But the fact that they dealt with it, they battled with it, it just made it much more prevalent whenever Jesus proved to them. Like, they were forced to believe because they had no choice. They had no choice but to believe that he was the Messiah, because despite all the times they doubted, despite all the times they questioned him, he always came through and always performed these crazy miracles. So that was one revelation that we had in this last reading about the hardness of the hearts of the disciples.
That's actually a very good point. You can see that. Because it's like at that time too, imagine you are an old school, no, I imagine you know nothing, and then you just see someone doing all these miracles, walking on water, fighting the storm, fighting demons. You would like freak out. I can't even blame them. So of course, if you're one of those people like, oh yeah, that's God right away. Not even no questioning, just being a yes man. That's that's not relatable. Like me, I just asked the question on this last reading. And already I immediately related to what you just said.
Mm-hmm. And it's like, because we have those human moments as well where we doubt God. How many times has God come through for us? And yet we're very quick whenever something goes wrong. God, where you at? Is this you? You know what I mean?
Where you at?
even though he's taken us through so many things.
Mhm.
So
Still want
it,
more.
that just goes to show that it's okay to have those moments. He's open to having those conversations. He's open to the questions. He's open to the doubt. He's okay with it. It's just a matter of you going to him, and that's where the disciples are able to be a good representation for us, because even they dealt with it and they were there and witnessing it in IRL 4K, 120 FPS. They were witnessing it there in person, and they even struggled with their faith. So who are we to say that, oh well, we're never going to doubt, we're never going to struggle with our faith, whenever the disciples did, and they truly loved him. So that's where we were at. But Mark chapter 7 is where we're at. So whichever one of y'all want to pick it up. It looks pretty long, but go ahead.
You or me?
I'm gonna hit the camera.
You?
It don't matter.
Are we reading both 7 and 8, or just?
Yeah, we usually read two.
I'll
If
go
it looks too long, then y'all could read to like.
7 seems short.
8's pretty long. It looks like. Maybe. Yeah.
They're both about the same size. I think 8's a little longer.
I think they're pretty short.
Well, we'll see.
I'll start.
Yeah, go ahead.
Mark chapter 7. Now when the Pharisees and some of the scribes who had come from Jerusalem gathered around him, they noticed that some of the disciples were eating with defiled hands, that is, without washing them. For the Pharisees and all the Jews do not eat unless they are thoroughly washed their hands, thus observing the tradition of the elders, and they do not eat anything from the market unless they wash it. And there are also many other traditions that they observe, the washing of cups, pots, and bronze kettles. So the Pharisees and the scribes asked him, Why do your disciples not live according to the tradition of the elders, but eat with defiled hands? He said to them, Isaiah prophesied rightly about you hypocrites, as it is written, This people honors me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me. In vain do they worship me, teaching human precepts as doctrines. You abandon the commandment of God and hold to human tradition. Then he said to them, You have a fine way of rejecting the commandment of God in order to keep your tradition. For Moses said, Honor your father and your mother, and whoever speaks evil of father or mother must surely die. But you say that if anyone tells their father or mother whatever support you might have had from me is Corban, that is, an offering to God, then you no longer permit doing anything for a father or mother, thus making void the word of God through your tradition that you have handed on, and you do many things like this. Then he called the crowd again and said to them, Listen to me, all of you, and understand. There is nothing outside a person that by doing it can defile, but the things that come out are what defile. When he had left the crowd and entered the house, his disciples asked him about the parable. He said to them, Then do you also fail to understand? Do you not see whatever goes into a person from outside cannot defile, since it enters not the heart but the stomach, and goes out into the sewer? Thus he declared all foods clean. And he said, It is what comes out of a person that defiles, for it is from within, from the human heart, that evil intentions come: fornication, theft, murder, adultery, avarice, wickedness, deceit, licentiousness. I don't know how to say that. Licentiousness, envy, slander, pride, folly. All these evil things come from within, and they defile a person. From there, he set out and went away to the region of Tyre. He entered a house and did not want anyone to know that he was there. Yet he could not escape notice. But a woman whose little daughter had an unclean spirit immediately heard about him, and she came and bowed down at his feet. Now the woman was a Gentile of Syrophoenician origin. She begged him to cast the demon out of her daughter. He said to her, Let the children be fed first, for it is not fair to take the children's food and throw it to the dogs. But she answered to him, Sir, even the dogs under the table eat the children's crumbs. Then he said to her, For saying that, you may go. The demon has left your daughter. So she went home, found the child lying on the bed, and the demon gone. Then he returned from the region of Tyre and went by way of Sidon towards the Sea of Galilee. In the region of the Decapolis, they brought to him a deaf man who had an impediment in his speech, and they begged him to lay his hand on him. He took him aside in private, away from the crowd, and put his fingers into his ears, and he spat and touched his tongue. Then looking up to heaven, he sighed and said to him, Ephphatha, that is, be opened. And immediately his ears were opened, his tongue was released, and he spoke plainly. Then Jesus ordered them to tell no one, but the more he ordered them, the more zealously they proclaimed it. They were astounded beyond measure, saying, He has done everything well. He even makes the deaf to hear and the mute to speak.
Mark chapter 8. Feeding 4,000. In those days there was again a large crowd, and they had nothing to eat. He called the disciples and said to them, Have compassion on the crowd, because they've already stayed with me 3 days and have nothing to eat. If I send them home hungry, they will collapse on the way, and some of them have came a long distance. His disciples answered him, Where can anyone get enough bread here in this desolate place to feed these people? How many loaves do you have? He asked them. 7, they said. He commanded the crowd to sit down on the ground. Taking the 7 loaves, he gave thanks, broke them, and gave them to his disciples to set before the people. So they served them to the crowd. They had also a few fish, and after he had blessed them, he said these were to be served as well. They ate and were satisfied. Then they collected 7 large baskets of leftover pieces. About 4,000 were there. He dismissed them, and he immediately got into the boat with his disciples and went to the district of Dalmanutha. The Pharisees came and began to argue with him, demanding of him of a sign from heaven to test him. Sighing deeply in his spirit, he said, Why does this generation demand a sign? Truly, I tell you, no sign will be given to this generation. Then he left them, got back into the boat, and went to the other side. The disciples had forgotten to take bread and had only 1 loaf with them in the boat. Then he gave them strict orders. Watch out! Beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and the leaven of Herod. They were discussing among themselves that they did not have any bread. Aware of this, he said to them, Why are you discussing the fact that you have no bread? Don't you understand or comprehend? Do you have hardened hearts? Do you have eyes and not see? Do you have ears and not hear? And do you not remember, when I broke the 5 loaves for the 5,000, how many basketfuls of leftovers did you collect? 12, they told him. When I broke the 7 loaves for the 4,000, how many baskets full of pieces did you collect? 7, they said. And he said to them, Don't you understand yet? They came to Bethsaida. They brought a blind man to him and begged him to touch him. He took the blind man by the hand and brought him out of the village. Spitting on his eyes and laying his hands on him, he asked him, Do you see anything? He looked up and said, I see people. They look like trees walking. Again, Jesus placed his hands on the man's eyes. The man looked intentionally, and his sight was restored, and he saw everything clearly. Then he sent him home, saying, Don't even go into the village. Jesus went out with his disciples to the villages of Caesarea Philippi, and on the road he asked his disciples, "Who do people say that I am?" They answered him, "John the Baptist, others, Elijah, still others, one of the prophets." "But you," he asked them, "who do you say that I am?" Peter answered him, "You are the Messiah." And he strictly warned them to tell no one about him. Then he began to teach them that it was necessary for the Son of Man to suffer many things, and be rejected by the elders, chief priests, and scribes, be killed, and rise after 3 days. He spoke openly about this. Peter took him aside and began to rebuke him. But turning around and looking at his disciples, he rebuked Peter and said, "Get behind me, Satan. You are not thinking about God's concerns, but humans' concerns." Calling the crowd along with disciples, he said to them, "If anyone wants to follow after me, let him deny himself, take up his cross, and follow me. For whoever wants to save his life will lose it. Whoever loses his life because of me and the gospel will save it. For what does it benefit someone to gain the whole world and yet lose his life? What can anyone give in exchange for his life? For whoever is ashamed of me and my words in this adulterous and sinful generation, the Son of Man will also be ashamed of him when he comes in the glory of the Father with the holy angels." Mark chapter 8. Dang.
That was a rough way to
he
finish it.
said enough. He said enough. I'm done.
And then the famous line,
Yeah.
"For what will it profit them to gain the whole world and forfeit their life?"
Damn, that was a bar right
That
there.
is a bar.
That one caught me. I was like, "Man, reading that, I gotta read that with some emphasis. Maybe they'll clip it right there, cause maybe the bot will."
Bro,
Yeah,
it's
but
like,
for what
again,
does it benefit someone to gain the whole world and yet lose his life?
it's something that relates to this day, like, because of how true these words are. If anyone wishes to come after me, he must deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. For whoever wishes to save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake and the gospel's will save it. For what does it profit a man to gain the world but forfeit his soul? For what will a man give in exchange for his soul? For whoever is ashamed of me and my words in this adulterous and sinful generation, the Son of Man will also be ashamed of him when he comes in the glory of his Father with the holy angels. And I just think of this when he says this adulterous and sinful generation. I'm like, oh, that's
He's talking
this.
about us.
He's talking about this generation. What does it profit a man to gain the whole world and forfeit his soul? He's talking about this generation. Like, I feel like this is meant for us, and it just goes to show though that the problems of humanity have stayed the same consistently for probably since the very beginning. It's been the exact same thing. I mean, you talk about at the Garden of Eden and what's led up to now. Before the Garden of Eden, the rebellion of Satan and of Lucifer and the angels, and so it's just consistency for a lifetime. And yet, I like how he just gets on. He also gets onto the disciples, like it's kind of how we talked about the hardened heart. He said, "Why did you discuss the fact that you have no bread? Do you not yet see or understand? Do you have a hardened heart? Having eyes, do you not see? And having ears, do you not hear? And do you not remember when I broke 5,000 loaves for the 5,000?" And then he just like, what's crazy is that whenever we read that, it didn't mention the leftover baskets, did it?
I don't believe so. No.
Because it just said that they were satisfied.
Yeah, they were full.
Yeah, that they were full, they were satisfied. But now here it's mentioning that they had baskets left over. And see, it's just like, this is exactly what I was talking about whenever they had these hardened hearts that they couldn't see past their own foolishness, past their own humanity, that they couldn't see it. And Jesus is essentially getting onto them. And I don't know, man, it's just scary because of how relatable it is. Because
Yeah, it's weird.
Also, remember this. Peter had just declared that Jesus was the Messiah. And Jesus is here saying, this is what's going to happen to me. I'm going to be persecuted. I'm going to be hated. And they're going to kill me. But I'm going to rise in 3 days. And Peter said, no. Like, no, you shouldn't die. And he rebuked Peter, saying, "Get behind me, Satan. For you are not setting your mind on God's interest, but man's."
That's crazy. Calling
And
one of
Peter,
his disciples
Peter,
Satan.
and Peter has like good intentions, but the road to hell is paved with good intentions. It's not about what you want. It's about what's God ordained to happen, what's God's will. And again, and that's just whenever he continues, he's pretty much saying like, not your will, but the Father's. And I know this is a thing that like I'm sounding like a broken record, but going back to the Lord's Prayer, I just keep referencing that your will be done, your will be done. Because if Peter got it his way, imagine Jesus said, okay, because you don't want me to die, so I won't. Imagine if that happened.
Right.
Now we're doomed for all of eternity because we have a debt to pay that we cannot pay. And Jesus, if he doesn't go through with it, then well, shoot. Now we're screwed. We're destined to go to hell. We have no chance. And so because of that, that's why I reference the Lord's Prayer so much, is because it's about what God's will is. And I don't know. I think the very beginning was very interesting as well, because he's talking about them eating uncleansed food and eating it with uncleanly hands. And this is very important because at that time, this is whenever Gentiles were trying to, see if they could enter the kingdom of heaven and be a follower of Christ. And at that time, they thought, well, I'm not a Jew, so what do I do? And this becomes a recurring problem in the future. But they weren't allowed to eat pork or anything that wasn't clean. And so here, that's one of the traditions that was set forward. And so the Jews, the Pharisees, right, they see these Gentiles and they're eating unclean food with unclean hands. That's haram. You can't do that. And Jesus says here, which is it's very crazy, in 18, he says, "Are you so lacking in understanding? Do you not understand that whatever goes into a man from outside cannot defile him, because it does not go into his heart, but into his stomach and is eliminated?" And then he continued saying, "That which proceeds out of the man is what defiles him. For from within, out of the heart of man, proceed evil thoughts, fornication, thefts, murders, adulteries, etc." Essentially, eliminating that tradition, because he's saying it doesn't matter what people eat, because what people eat isn't what defiles them. It's what is in their hearts that comes out of their mouths. That's what defiles them. Essentially, he just eliminated that entire tradition, but at the same time, they took that tradition and passed it down as what is you're supposed to do, and that's what saves you, whenever that was never the intention of the tradition in the first place. The intention of the tradition was to bring forth the path that could bring the Messiah, which was Jesus. But after that, it's like, well, why are you essentially casting away these people who want to be a follower of me just because they don't follow your traditions? That's not right. He even says that what else did they do? They said they don't buy food, they don't eat food from the marketplace unless they clean them themselves. They wash the cups and the pitchers, copper pots. They do all these things, right? They make it seem all holy. And he says, which I love this prophecy, I love whenever he says this people honors me with their lips, but their heart is far away from me. But in vain do they worship me, teaching as doctrines the precepts of men. Pretty much reminding us that you can say these things, right? You can follow the traditions, but where's your heart at? Is your heart in the church traditions, or is your heart with Jesus Christ? Because we can follow the tradition of just going to church every Sunday, or just going to church on Christmas, going to church on Easter, you know what I mean? Honoring the Sabbath, doing all the traditions, eating the bread, the body, and the blood, drinking the blood. You can honor all these traditions, right? But it doesn't matter. None of that matters if you don't have a relationship with God. Where's your heart at? That's one thing that we've talked about a lot that you brought up a while back about how you chose to pray to God, right? It's like, I can pray to God like he's a friend. I can pray to God and go to him in humility, but I don't have to read it like an essay or do it like an email. You can come to him and talk to him, and you can go to church as you are. We've said this before, like if you even if you're drunk, even if you went to a party the night before, shoot, you know what? Go to church. Even if you're not in the best outfit and you don't have the best clothes to wear, or maybe you're homeless and you haven't showered in a couple of days, like just go to the church. God is going to observe your heart. But if you're that type of person who maybe he didn't go party Saturday, and he shows up in a nice suit, but whenever he gets there, all he's doing is being rude to people. He's over here judging everyone unrighteously, and he's being lying and deceitful at his workplace. The person who comes in humility, who comes in reverence with a desire to be after God's own heart, versus who's coming just to follow the tradition, who's God going to favor more? And this is a clear example. Jesus is saying right here that it's a matter of the heart, not a matter of the tradition. So I think this is just a real powerful verse.
I had a question because I don't know if this is more like an analogy or more literal. Verse 9 through 13, chapter 7. Then he said to them, "You have a fine way of rejecting the commandment of God in order to keep your tradition. For Moses said, 'Honor your father and your mother,' and whoever speaks evil of father or mother must surely die. But you say that if anyone tells father or mother, whatever support you might have had from me is Corban, then you no longer permit doing anything for a father or mother, thus making void the word of God through your tradition that you have handed on, and you do many things like this."
And what are you asking?
Like, is it more of an analogy or is it more of a literal? Like, because he's saying mother and like bring honor to your father and your mother,
Well, he's not saying bring other. He's saying honor your father and
or
mother.
not, yeah, honor your father and your mother.
Yeah.
And whoever speaks evil of father or mother, is it still like the analogy of whatever you intake and then whatever you actually give out, like that's what defiles a person, or what's this?
I
don't
think
understand
when
that.
when I heard this reminded me of whenever Jesus had said that you say that whoever commits adultery, or whoever has cheated on his wife or whatever commits adultery, but I say that whoever looks at a woman with lustful intent has already committed adultery in his heart. You say that, if whoever kills his brother, has committed murder, but I say that whoever holds hatred in their heart for their brother has already committed murder in their heart. Essentially, what he's saying is exactly what you're mentioning. It's about whatever's in your heart intent. So he's saying that you can it's one thing like, okay, we can judge the man based off of his action. Like, okay, maybe you secretly hate your mother, Jeremy. You talk bad about her in your heart. We don't know that because we don't hear it, but in your heart you do. And maybe I'm the one that actually, maybe I hit my mom or something like that, right? He's saying that your hatred for your mom in your heart and mine physically abusing her is the same exact way, the same exact thing. And so whenever he's tearing down all these traditions, he's pretty much saying that you're trying to find a loophole around it, but the loophole isn't just, oh, I'm going around committing the act, but it's not about the act, it's about the intention. No. So you can commit adultery in your heart, you can commit murder in your heart, you can dishonor your father and your mother in your heart. And that's the thing, that's what it mentions, that God knows man's heart. And Jesus, being God, again, fulfilling that prophecy, he knows man's heart. That's why he looks at your heart, because he is God. And God's, remember, it said that in Proverbs, that no man can know another man's heart except the Father. So Jesus, whenever he's looking at us, he's not going to judge based off of our actions. He's going to judge based off of our heart and our intent. Because if you were to do it vice versa, right, there's no actions that we can do that can earn us our way to heaven. There's no actions that we can do that would give us our salvation. He's looking at our hearts and seeing if he's in there or not. And so I think exactly what you're saying is, it's about the intent behind it. You can't find a loophole around it. Well, I didn't commit the act. I didn't actually murder my brother. I didn't hit my mom, but in your heart you did so.
I just thought about it, which is just as bad.
Yeah, it's just as bad. You know what I mean? Like whatever people say, well, you can look but you can't touch. You know what I mean? Yeah. And in the Word of God, looking is as bad as touching. Thinking about it is as bad as touching. So that's how extreme it is, and that's the standard that we have to live up to.
That puts in perspective of the all sins are created equal then. Because I remember growing up, I always thought one was worse than the other. But if actually committing the act is equivalent to just thinking about it, then I guess they are just all equal in the eyes of God.
Yeah. And Tracy Ketron said, very he said a verse, verily, I say unto you, if a man keep my saying, he shall never see death. John 8, verse 51
What was it again?
says, verily, I say unto you, if a man keep my saying, he shall never see death. Basically, if you keep the
this.
commandments, if you keep what Jesus has said in your heart, you shall never see death. But it's the opposite if you just follow traditions. And I like how he says that. I like how he worded it. You are experts at setting aside the commandment of God in order to keep your tradition. That's verse 9. I just like how he worded that. I feel like, because that's summarizing exactly what he's coming against with the Pharisees. You are experts at setting aside the commandment of God in order to keep your tradition. And I think that's the same way that we look at following God now. It's like, well, I mean, I may drink every once in a while, but at least I don't go party. Or I may smoke every once in a while, but at least I'm not doing heroin, you know. I might go to the club every once in a while, but at least I'm not buying prostitutes. You know what I mean? Like, we justify our sins because we look at the world and we say, well, at least I'm not doing as bad as they are. But in this case, God is saying, no, I'm not comparing you with other people. I'm looking at your heart. You're the only one. Like, you're the one that's going to be held responsible and accountable for your actions. So whenever it comes Judgment Day, you can't say, well, I mean, Jeremy did it, and I didn't do as bad as him. You know what I mean? Raul, he went real far. I didn't go that far. He's gonna look at you and saying, why you bringing up everybody else? Yeah. I'm looking at your heart. This is about me and you. And right now I look at you and you don't even know me. I don't have a relationship with you. And that's the sad part.
Yeah, that's a tough pill to swallow.
Yeah. So it's just a warning against that. And again, it's like whenever we move forward, right? And he says the Syrophoenician women, the woman. And we read the story in Matthew whenever he called her a dog. Right? And her humility to say, but even the dogs under the table feed on children's crumbs. I'm still astounded whenever we read that story, because I think of how people can be offended, how you talked about in Genesis, how people could easily manipulate that and say, well, look at him. He called a woman with a sick daughter, a demon-possessed daughter, a dog. You know, and you say that he's all loving. Yeah. But
you got to beat him to the punch.
Yeah.
And that's the best way to address it.
But he's saying, like, he's testing this woman, because if you're already offended by God saying that you're a dog, calling you out, right, then how is he supposed to perform these miracles for you? Because it takes faith. That's what Jesus demonstrates, and that's what he demonstrated also in the previous chapters whenever he was in his hometown, and it says that he couldn't perform any miracles. And it's like, why couldn't he perform miracles in his own hometown? You would think that he would be able to go home and everyone would love him. Everyone would be showing reverence for him, saying, Messiah, like, you're the Lord, King of all kings. And he'd be able to perform the most miracles that he's done so far. But because of their lack of faith, he wasn't able to perform any miracles. And so here he is with this woman, and in a way he calls her a dog. And she could say, well, you know what? Maybe I am. Maybe I am a dog. Maybe I'm not worthy. But even the dogs eat the crumbs at the children's table. And he says, because of this, because of your faith, your daughter's made well. You know, like, I think it could be so easy to get offended at that. And essentially, you're just kind of going up to Jesus and expecting him to perform a miracle for you for nothing.
She did a good job about looking at the log in her own eye instead
Yeah.
of pointing it out. Like, yeah, I mean, maybe I do this, maybe I do mess up, maybe I do that, but here I am trying to make it right.
Yeah.
She didn't say, "No, no, I'm perfect. I'm this and that." No, she's like, "Yeah, let me look at my own eye. Let me see where I'm going wrong." That's a good practicing example right there, and
Yeah.
it hits every time you read it.
Yeah.
So wow.
And it's like how harsh Jesus can be sometimes, but it's in a loving way. Like he wants to perform the miracles for you. He wants to, like, Jesus is there. He's ready for you. He has his arms open. He's ready to receive you. But the path to that, right? He What does he say? He says, for a man to follow him, he must deny himself and take up his cross daily. For whoever wishes to save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake and the gospel's will save it. So when you think about what Jesus is asking of us, he's asking for us to deny ourselves. He's asking for us to put away our pride, to humble ourselves and just acknowledge the fact that we know that we're not perfect. That we know that without God, we're not worthy. He's asking us to acknowledge that. And so if we're going to get offended and we're going to get all pressed whenever Jesus calls us out on our BS, then there's no way that we're going to be able to be saved because it's not pretty. It's not pretty whenever we get into a relationship with Christ because I actually brought this up with Raul. It's right. Whenever you're in a relationship with somebody, it's like a mirror. It shows you everything that's wrong with you. It shows you all the things that you need to work on. It shows you all of your flaws. It shows you all of your insecurities. It shows you everything. It's literally a mirror that you look at, and it's no different with Christ, except Christ is the ultimate because he's going to show you not just what's on the surface level, he's going to show you what's underneath, what's hidden on the inside. And so all those things are going to get exposed. That's why he says that, I'm the light, right? I'm the salt and the light because everything that's going to be hidden will be exposed. It'll come to the surface and illuminated. So you're going to have to come face to face with all those demons that you've been hiding from, all those things that you've been suppressing that you don't want to talk about. And you want to more than likely run away from it. But Jesus is saying, no, I need you to address it. I need you to go ahead and acknowledge the fact that you know that you're not perfect so that I can come in and cleanse you, so that I can come and do my work in you. Because you're never going to be able to do it by yourself. Because more than likely, you've tried on your own. You've tried to stop sinning. You've tried to break this addiction. You've tried to stop doing this thing, and you couldn't. Maybe you get away from it for a week, maybe a month, maybe even a year, but you always go back to it. And so Jesus is saying you can't save yourself, but if you're able to humble yourself, if you're able to deny yourself and allow me to step in, I can set you free from that. But it's going to take you doing that. It's going to take you denying yourself. It's going to take you putting down those walls and saying, I know I'm not perfect, but God, I need you. That's what it's going to take for him to come in and save you. So, but if that woman, right, if she was closed her heart and said, no, you can't offend me. How dare you say that? Then that opportunity for her daughter to be healed wouldn't have happened. And so it's just, yeah.
And it's crazy too. Now that we can read this and get context, I remember this is a question for Raju. A while back, how you said that you were like going to your confessions and you were curious about like talking to other Catholics about the things that we read, specifically about the traditions. Like the one we just said, where was it? You have a fine way of invalidating God's command in order to set up your tradition. Have you ever got any comment or feedback on the question of like, hey, why do we do no meat on Fridays or something like that, or why do we do this? Or
I haven't really conversated with anyone about that.
I'm curious
That's
as to what they
Catholic.
would say though, especially because like I grew up really heavily Catholic, and I was embraced with traditions, and I was told like, oh, if you eat meat on this Friday, you're going to hell. That's how extreme it was to me as a kid, right? Uh, and I was like, man, or going on those baseball games on the Friday, everybody else would be eating burgers and chicken nuggets, and you have to be the exception to eat fish. When it's like, man,
Mm.
in a way, it's okay, but would it really be that bad if I did eat that burger? Am I really going to hell if I did eat that burger, right?
Yeah, I think as we've discussed previously, how where it's not necessarily just, hey, don't eat meat on Fridays. It's like the bigger picture behind it, and I believe it's the fasting. We should fast, but it's not only just with meat during that time frame, right? It should be from this, from that, from this. all throughout your life. And I think obviously how it states in the Bible with traditions, there's more to it. It's not just those humanly traditions. I think there's a bigger picture behind it, and obviously it's God. So I think it's just making sure that you're right with God, and whether you're a Catholic, Christian, this or that, right? I think as long as you follow God, Jesus Christ, you'll be good.
I'm just curious
Uh-huh.
as to what they would say. I would,
Some
yeah,
people are arrogant, ignorant,
yeah.
and they'll just
And it's like, bro, it's right
conflict.
here though.
But
What do you
I,
mean?
I'd like to talk to the priest about it.
Yeah, no,
I
like in a
think that'd
civil
be a good
conversation, because I mean, you're going there to learn. You have questions. It's
yeah.
like,
I think
if
that'd be a good conversation.
Yeah. I just think it's hilarious because you're talking about we can't eat meat, on Fridays, right? And and then it just literally leads me to what it says. What Jesus is saying that do you not understand whatever goes into the man from the outside cannot defile him because it does not go into his heart but into his stomach and is eliminated. That which proceeds out of the man is what defiles a man.
Hmm.
From within, out of the heart of man. So essentially saying it don't matter what you eat. Eat whatever you want because that's not what defiles you. So I think that's interesting whenever you bring that up about not eating meat because Jesus is saying it doesn't matter
Yeah.
what you eat. You can eat whatever you want.
I mean, because now, I'll be honest, like now that I'm a dog, make my own decisions, and that time comes, I don't really think about it too much. If I have meat in front of me, I'm gonna eat it. I don't think like, oh, I'm sinning, God, I feel guilty. It's like, I mean, I've had a change of heart, and I guess
Mhm.
you could say,
But it's like exactly as Raul was saying, Jesus didn't call us just to abstain from eating meat. He called us to fast, just fast in general, be in constant fast, praying and fasting. And so whenever you look at it, how Jesus did, he didn't wait for a specific time out of the year to fast and pray. He did it all the time, continuously, always in fasting and prayer, and then he would eat. After being in fasting and prayer. So it was like it was constant thing year round. And Jesus and in his scenario, Jesus would do like absolute fast. No fodder, no fodder, no food or water
hey,
at
to
all.
combine them, no
At all.
fodder.
No food or water at all. Absolute fast. There's some people who only do the water fast. They only drink water. There's people who do the Daniel fast, where they only eat specific meals, like whole foods, and that's it. No sugars, no nothing like that. So, in some instances, like you can do different types of fast, but Jesus is just asking you, hey,
Just to
just
do
fast.
it.
Just do
Yeah,
it.
just do it.
Just do it. But some people, they're like very strict about, in this case, they couldn't eat pork, right?
Mhm.
Or unclean foods. It was very specific what they could or couldn't eat. I think it's called kosher, right? In the Jewish tradition, it's called kosher. And so for them, it's like, well, I can only eat these types of meat. I can't eat that. And that's their tradition. But Jesus is saying, it doesn't matter what you eat, because that meat isn't what defiles you. It's what's in your heart that defiles you.
It's a good eye opener right there.
Uh-huh. But that's like the difference. Like, for example, like in the Islamic tradition, they have their, I forgot what it's called, but they have their certain,
Ramadan.
no, not that. It's what they can eat and what they can or cannot eat.
That's not haram, or is that
That's not
different?
haram.
I get confused between.
No,
They're all
but
kind of
yeah,
similar
yeah.
to me.
It's similar to kosher though.
Yeah.
They can't eat pork and
Halal.
some other things. Halal. Yeah, halal.
Halal.
That's what it is. It's
Uh-huh.
halal. So they have only certain things that they can or cannot eat. And then Jewish with culture, they have some things that they can or cannot eat. And but in Christianity, Jesus is saying it doesn't matter what you eat. And so yeah, that's a good way to look at it because it's not the food that defiles you. You know what I mean? There's someone that could be eating clean as ever, right? They're still a hateful person. So doesn't matter.
It's usually the vegans,
It usually is.
right? They're so mean for some reason. Just because I'm eating meat.
But man, this is a this is good. This was a really good
Yeah, this was a good one.
really good reading. But y'all have any closing thoughts before we wrap it up?
No, I did quite a bit of talking. Pretty much as always, just never stop questioning. Don't do it in a bad way. Do it in a way that you want to learn and explore and be
Childlike.
childlike. Like I'm just curious. Don't do it like, oh, just to prove a negative point. Like recently, I've been how do I say, l- looking at myself as a chameleon or like a data center, because I've been making a lot more friends. Or friends. I mean, they're not really people I plan to keep long term. Just pass the time, right, while I'm there. But I find myself like there's so many people out there, and you have to find those little things that you can relate to. And if you just find that little thing that you can relate to, it's like all that hate or all that whatever. Like you said, just let one thing go in out the in ear and one out the other. Like, oh yeah, well, yeah, I might not agree, but yeah, yeah, yeah. It just goes to show, like, man, there's a lot of that stuff can be neutralized and negated if you don't give into it. Like, for example, yesterday I was so tired, but I got invited to go to like a FIFA game night, right? And I was like, I don't know how to play FIFA. I'm just, I don't know what I'm doing. But I thought about it. I'm like, you know what? I got invited. It's like the second, third time I got invited. Haven't shown up. Let me make an appearance. I got a little bit of free time. I pulled up. I was the only or it was me and my other friend, like my old roommate. We're the only Americans there. Americans, right? There was people from Nigeria, uh, like Puerto Rico, Venezuela, and then there was one guy. Interesting enough, it's gonna sound kind of weird. He was from Iran, right? But we didn't. Nobody said brought up anything about the conflict going on between America and Iran. He didn't say anything about America. We didn't say anything about Iran. But just the fact that I was in a room with someone from that country, despite the ongoing conflict, in my head I'm like, whoa, it's kind of crazy. But then I'm like, this is not real life. Like the social media, the media is not real life. Me and him, we're having a good conversation. You know, he bought wings for everybody, and even if you didn't chip in, he was like, yeah, come eat, come get a wing. You know, or if we were playing the game, he would cheer if you scored, or he was doing that playful banter of like, afuera, afuera, like go outside, you suck. Because you're losing. It was playful. You would have never thought that. Oh, like this guy's from Iran. Sketch. But it just goes to show, like, man, you gotta find those little things that you can find in common with somebody. And it was just happened to be soccer. I have no idea anything about soccer, but I made the attempt just to, hey, maybe I'm that, I kind of take it as a grain of salt. Like, maybe I'm gonna be that light that people see that God wants me to be, even if it's something relatable. Because I try to find those little things that I can relate to someone. They could be someone completely different, but hey, maybe we have in common our favorite color is blue, or maybe we both like baseball, or maybe we both go to the gym. We both go to the gym. We can talk about that, but your favorite color is red and mine's blue. But let's not focus on the red and blue. Let's focus on the gym. Let's come together. And that's one thing that I've been taking away. That's why I'm a chameleon or a data center because I try to adapt and change to whoever I'm talking to. In a good way though. I'm not changing me. I'm me regardless, but that's me.
That makes me think of this Adele song. I don't know what it's called, but maybe she says something like this. Maybe all this conflict, maybe the reality is we're actually more united. And it just makes me think of like all this conflict that we see on social media, red versus blue, conservative versus liberal. Maybe at the end of the day, the reality is we are more united than we think we are. We all have like the intention of, hey, we want better. So,
We all do, and
and
yeah.
exactly how you're mentioning with your Iranian acquaintance, you were able to get along with him. You were able to have a genuine conversation with him.
And I
You
will
know,
be honest too. At first, I was sketch. That I was, you know, what's the word? I guess dumb on my part, already assuming, he's a Iranian. That's the whole reason I started saying Iran, because I used to call it Iran. But he's like, no, we say Iran. I'm like, oh, cool, cool. So I'm like, okay, well, I guess that's a proper way to announce it. But just me being uh clueless, I guess. I don't know the exact word I'm looking for. Ignorant, right? Assuming I know him when I don't know him at all.
And we all do that in our day to day lives, but we're human, all of us. And that's one thing that we all share in common. And what does it mean to be a human? It means to experience love, joy, pain, regret, laughter, everything. That's a part of the human experience. And so, no matter where you come from in this part of the world, no matter what religion you ascribe to, what politics you follow, we can all relate to the fact
Right.
that we're human.
And that's a really strong point right there. And that's he might have his ideas and beliefs. He might actually hate America. He might agree, but at the moment he was being another human being with the people that he was around, and that's the point that matters right there. But like you said, all that other stuff, that's for the birds. Take that outside. But at the end of the day, it's like, man, we can actually all relate if we just stop being petty and hateful.
And I like one thing that Raul had actually told me the other day is like you have to pick your battles, know who to pick up your sword against, and know who also to fight beside, right? And I think what it means to be a representative of Christ as a soldier, as a warrior for the kingdom, you know, it means to know when and when not to pick up your sword and shield and fight, and when to just lay it down. And that's kind of what I meant when I'm saying like you don't always have to be right. You don't always have to agree, and you have to know what heels or to die on. And sometimes it's just not worth it, right? What's the point of fighting with someone about something y'all know you will never agree on? There's no point. No point in bringing up that conversation. So let's just unite on what we can relate to. And as I mentioned, it's just a human experience. We're all human. And so that in and of itself, our existence, we're a shared existence. If there were aliens that were going to come down from outer space and look at Earth, they wouldn't say, "Oh, those are Iranians, those are Americans." They would say, "Oh, those are the human race." So
Yes,
that's
they're all screwed.
yeah. So pretty much that's how I like to believe is, we should just let's start off there. Hey, you're human, I'm human. We live, we die, and that right there is enough for us to be able to love one another, and that's all that Jesus calls us to do. Love your neighbor as yourself. So
Yeah,
uh,
good.
that was a great podcast, and so yeah, thank y'all for tuning in to the 65th edition of the #1 podcast of the world. Subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll catch you on the next one very soon. Love y'all.